And we are still at the Author's Corner. And today's theme is a great mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I'm here with Mr. Otis Nixon. How you doing, Mr. Otis Nixon?
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Wonderful.
Pleasure.
Baseball Hall of Fame. Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with your book because today we're talking about literary works.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I want to start off by talking about your book, Keeping It Real, because today we're talking about literary works.
Okay.
How did you create the title, Keeping It Real?
Wow. I think I talk to a lot of people now in ministry, going across the country speaking, and if you want to keep it real, get in front of some students and start fabricating, start not keeping it real, and they'll let you know. And so when I started doing this book, it came from a lot of mistakes. That's where it started from. And if you look around in your life, or you're looking around in my life, just because I was a baseball player for 25 years, there was a lot of things that didn't go right. And you can write a long list of the things that didn't go right. But I'm sharing in this book on the mistakes, and it became an open book. And I got to put it out here. Even though we was in the World Series, we went to World Series, and Bishop Long endorsed the book, Bishop Eddie Long. He endorsed the book, and the reason he did, he said, you expose yourself. Talking about keeping it real when you got to expose your mistakes. And that's what I basically did in the book. Not just on the field, but the mistakes off the field. We was talking about marriage, we talk about finances, we talk about life, mistakes that kids have to go through, and that's where it started from.
We need to make sure we put this book on the website for Real Talk, because I've had the opportunity to read this book, and it's a lot of real, wholesome life experience, pain, and emotional things that we're going to talk about and get into later.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we put this on the Real Talk website. And before we even get into the book, let's tell our viewers where we can find this book at.
I self-published it. I took my own monies, and I said, I want to put this book in a format. So if you had to find the book, you can go to my website, just my name, otisnixon.com, www.otisnixon.com.
Now let's go back in time a little ways, when you were actually playing in the leagues. Mm-hmm. Okay, how did you get started into the whole baseball arena in the first place?
I was doing a seminar with some kids, and I was sitting there looking at all these kids sitting around, and I began to tell them about the same question. They said, well, how did you get started in baseball? So I had to go back in time a little bit, and I told them a story about how to be a winner, how to really get good on anything you're doing, whether you basketball, football, baseball. So I told them a little story about two guys from Evergreen, North Carolina, or from North Carolina.
And I want to put that out there. Evergreen, I'm from a little town called Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. It's about 100 miles south of Richmond, Virginia, and about 80 miles north of Raleigh, North Carolina. So we do have that in common.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Country boys. And
that's right.
Everything in green is green.
That's right.
Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was talking to these kids, and I was talking to them, and they were glued to me, just looking into my eyes, and they wanted to know how I did it. So I told them about two individuals, myself and a friend of mine. I'm gonna call his name in a few minutes. And what I was sharing with them, I said, I was the first one on one field. On the other side, you can hear, bow, hitting the ball, bow, hitting the ball. I was the first one and the last one. Coach, throw me one more. Coach, throw me one more. I was the guy on the other side of the field. Didn't have no money, but I had a desire. There was a guy on the other side. The only thing you hear is whoosh, whoosh. Michael Jordan. We grew up together. He wouldn't quit and I wouldn't quit. He wouldn't quit and I wouldn't quit. And that's how we started this thing, just by working real hard. And that's what I teach kids, and I tell them, don't you ever, you know how tough it is growing up in the country, not to give up. Don't let your dream get away. And I talk about it in the book.
Awesome. One of the things you talked about in the book, and I can relate to, remember that incident with the tractor in the ditch?
That's
and
right.
What prompted you to grab that wheel of that steering wheel of that tractor and drive it over into the ravine.
Boy, you're going deep. You're going way back into it. But that's good because everybody's got a story, like Bishop Long said. And you got a story, I got a story. And mine just related to the times that I came so close to death. That was one incident that I came so close to death. And I never forget it. I don't know why we play around with life and we're young kids and we try to, I'm just driving down the road. Something in my mind just told me, said, well, pull the wheel over and make him pull it back. I pulled the wheel over and he couldn't pull it back, and we ended up in almost killing each other. So those are the times I talk to kids about, and some of them are not alive today. Some people are not alive today that go through these things. They drink, they try little things, they try the drugs, try a little bit of everything. And I'm fortunate to be here today because I go deep, deep, deep with things that hurt me in this book and scarred me.
Another thing that you talk about in your book is the demons. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, we're going to ask your wife to come up in a few minutes. And a lot of people may not know because you're in an estranged marriage, but we're going to ask her to come and join us in a moment. But one of the things you talked about were demons, mm-hmm. and how you were able to shake those demons off and get back control of your life. And we're talking about addiction and dealing with the drug addiction that you were battling. You care to talk about that?
I'm wide open with it, and I do this across the country. I do it in pulpits. So I'm a pastor today. But God had disposed that. He took the book and made this thing where you made this great catch. But what I was going through at the time, not knowing that my first drink and my first line of cocaine, I was instantly addicted to it. And I kept it inside. And every time I went out to drink, I couldn't stop drinking. And every time I tried to do cocaine, I could not stop. And all of a sudden, guys, and I don't want anybody to throw anything at me, but in 1991, our first World Series in the Atlanta Braves, I decided to go out and get into a little party thing, and I cost my team. I almost cost the team the World Series that particular year. And as I went through these things, thinking I could just do a little bit of drinking, I share a secret with you, is that instead of drinking right here, right now, one drink, you guys come back tomorrow, I'll still be in here drinking. I can't stop. Now you tell me that ain't sick or that ain't crazy. No, it's addiction. Put a line here of cocaine. I'm keeping it real, brother. And I'll be here tomorrow. This same set will be going on. I'll be doing line after line after line. I was addicted. It took me a long time to figure out that I had to stay away from it, and I'm clean and sober today, that I had to stay away from that side of the alcohol.
Yes. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Real talk now, that is a success story right there for you. Mm-hmm. Do you mind this time if we call up your wife?
I would love to. I would love to have her.
The beautiful Candy Staten. Yeah. Put your hands together. Hey, Candy, how are you?
I'm fine. Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And you've heard us from the audience, and you've heard Otis and I sharing some tough times.
Yeah.
And how, the progression.
Yeah. The
growth from childhood and how we make mistakes. But he had what he called a desire. Mm-hmm. He had that burning desire to keep going.
Yeah.
And that means the world. How has Otis influenced your life?
I've been knowing him for many years.